Hey, and welcome on back to Workshop Wednesday. I'm Chelsea Busmeyer. Thanks for joining me today in my workshop. Today I have a super exciting decor project. Who doesn't love a good decor project? And when it comes to sewing, there's so many tips and tricks you just need to know for success with whatever project, whether it is a home decor or a garment sewing project. And this episode is crammed packed. And I've also got some exciting home decor projects coming down the line. So if you're not subscribed to my channel, definitely click the subscribe button today so that you don't miss out on the coming videos. I post a new video like every week, and we get to talk about everything to do with sewing. Now, this lamp I actually bought for my very first apartment when I moved out when I was 18. I won't bother to mention how many years ago that was, but it did not survive children, or at least the lampshade did not survive children. It was a paper shade, so, it was only a matter of time until it got ripped. And ever since it got ripped like 2 years ago, I've been planning to sew a new lampshade for it. I took it apart and removed the paper from it, and I've got kind of these two wire frames. This one kind of holds it tight at the bottom, and then this is the top bar. And I've even thought about just buying a new lampshade, but I really wanted to try sewing one. So I picked up this white crepe, and what I love most about this fabric is that it has that texture to it. It's got a good weight and drape to it. It doesn't wrinkle very easily because it also has a little bit of elasticity to it, so it's got some stretch. And so all around, I think it'll be a really great fabric for this project, just due to the different properties that this fabric has. So size-wise, what I need to measure out is I need the full circumference of my rim and then decide how long the lampshade needs to go down. Now, I want to definitely cover both of the light bulbs, but I do have a little bit of play in the base here, depending on if I want the lampshade to really go quite low to the floor or just barely cover that last light bulb. After checking the measurements on my lamp, it turns out that I actually am going to go with a square piece of fabric. So I'm shortening that lampshade up a little bit so that there's a little bit more of the stand sticking out. And then I'm just going to square off my fabric, where you can see I've squared it off. And I'm going to cut out a perfect square. Now that we have our fabric cut, let's talk production plan. So because I want the seam to be very, very narrow as it goes down the side of the lampshade, I want it to be, really unintrusive. I'm just going to use a 3-thread overlock wide. I'm going to use a fairly short stitch since it's only a 3-thread so that I have enough hold. But I'm just going to serge it down the side. Now, if you don't have a serger, I would suggest doing a very narrow French seam. If you're not familiar with French seams, I will make a video for you with some tips and tricks, because they can be super easy or more difficult than they need to be if you don't know kind of the ins and outs of the French seam. But today I'm going to serge that closed. Now, before I actually get to closing that seam, I'm going to finish off this top edge and the bottom edge just with that 3-thread overlock as well, just so that it's not going to fray on me when I fold it into the lampshade. The other thing that I need to think about are these little support rods that are going to hold the frame in place. So what I'm going to do here, because I don't want it to fray around where those little support rods are either, I'm going to do half of a buttonhole. So I'm going to mark out where they need to be. And then after I've serged over the edge, just do a little U-shaped kind of finished off piece that I can cut down into and then wrap the edges around the wire. So let's see how this works. we have our cover stitched together, the trickiest part is going to be attaching it to this wire hoop. So I'm just going to shove this in here. I'm really loving how this turned out with half of a buttonhole. I've never actually used half of a buttonhole for something before, but this actually worked out really, really well. So I'm just going to fold these pieces around and then stitch it down. Well, that was a little fidgety to say the least, but it looks like it is attached all the way around. It worked out quite well to just slide that first half down the piping, but once I had the first half attached, it was a little trickier to get those corners, but this is looking really good. Let's do the other side. This last section here is going to be the trickiest section because it's a little bit bowed up, so I can't really fit it under my foot, so I'm going to have to just start a little farther away from the edge. I may just have to do a tiny little bit by hand. Let's see here. Back stitch as far as we can. To get right into that corner where our seam is. I left this corner for last because it has the seam on it, so I'm more likely to kind of turn this corner to the back of the room anyways. Here we go. Let's see if we can stretch this. It's really coming in handy that I do have that little bit of stretch in the fabric. I wanted it for when I put the lampshade on the lamp and stretch it into place, but it's making it a little easier to get it on this wire hoop. Let's see. Don't want to break my needle. There we go. It's attached all the way around. Now, are you ready for this reveal? It is so vitally important to really choose the right fabric for your project based on the properties that you need so that you can enjoy the end result. It doesn't matter if it's a home decor or if it's a garment that you're sewing. It is so vitally important to learn the properties of both the fibers and the structure of fabric so that you can really truly choose the best fabric for your project and get the result that you want and the look that you want, again, regardless of whether it's a garment or a home decor project. Now, I've even done some pattern review videos for you. You can check them out, how to pick the right fabric for your pattern, and we just go through, what are some properties of different patterns suggested, or fabrics rather suggested for the pattern, and how they will differ with the exact same pattern. So definitely check out those videos. They will help you learn to pick the right fabric for your pattern, as well as I have a whole fabric workshop that will teach you everything you need to know about fabrics, and I'll just pop the link in the description below so you can check out that workshop as well. Take care and happy sewing!